everybody. There you go, everybody. A little New Year's kiss.
Little New Year's kisses
from Michael and
Riley.
Crossing over from BCC, the other side, we have a very final, but very fun and recent Patreon unlock, an episode that's been declassified from BCC, the other side. This is Tower of London with Ryan Gaul. We dropped this over Thanksgiving break. It's one of my most favorite recent episodes. And now you say, well, Michael, there haven't been a lot of recent episodes. So
there have been. You've been hanging out over on the Patreon.
Exactly.
Kept those home fires burning for you.
We thought you guys would enjoy, I guess including the last 3 episodes between the Hairy Man and Bloodbeat and now Tower of London. We're having kind of a gore fest over the holidays.
Yeah, it's holiday gore fest. We're getting it out,
Yeah.
In the cold of winter.
This is going to be some spooky ghost stories. This is going to be some spine-tingling history involving some very gross torture devices. Ryan is very fun and funny in this episode, as you will soon find out. So enjoy this declassified episode on the Tower of London from BCC The Other Side over at patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub. Happy New Year, everybody. And guess what?
What?
We'll see you next week on Bigfoot Collectors Club.
Oh, that's right.
All new episode. We're back.
We're back,
next
baby.
week. We're back full time next week. Everyone, get excited.
Buckle up.
Happening. Buckle up. Kicking off 2025. Coming in hot. We can't wait to see you back on every Wednesday over on the Clubhouse main feed.
Yes.
Until then.
Wait,
yes,
before
Riley.
we go,
yes.
one more thing.
Yes.
I got to throw in there that, before this was behind the paywall before, so, we often shoot from the hip on this show, but we did receive a correction on this episode.
Oh, that's right. Let me pull up
before we release it to the masses.
Yes.
I feel that
I actually have it written down in this document right here. This is from Graham McDonald.
Yes.
Who would like to give us a
archaeologist.
Yes.
A great guy.
Hi, Graham. Who says, as a proper degree holding archaeologist, I can stress people never ate shit, as it would make you severely ill. This mention of dung is used in medicines, but it is very small quantities. Plus, sign me up for the Patreon level where Riley saves us from time slip hangings. Very handy.
Sense later on in the episode.
That'll make sense later.
The main point being, we were wrong. People did not eat poop.
I'm going to say Ryan Gaul was wrong.
That was pretty much all Ryan. Yeah.
I'll throw him under the bus.
Yeah, that was 100% Ryan.
So. I questioned it at the time. Didn't sound right to me.
It did not sound right, but it did sound funny. And so we ran with it.
Yeah, we just accepted. You know, that's the way it happens sometimes. Anyways, you guys check the facts. We'll correct ourselves.
Yeah, you check the facts. We'll let you know when corrected. But yeah, enjoy the episode.
Yeah, if talking about eating shit hasn't made you turn this episode off already, then enjoy Tower of London with Ryan Gaul.
Enjoy your plate.
All right, we'll see you next week, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, The Other Side. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club, The Other Side, the parallel dimension to BCC. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your extraterrestrial producer,
Riley Bray.
And joining us in the clubhouse for the final week of Friendsgiving is the one and only, the hilarious, the magical, the mystical, the director of McGillicuddy Castle, Ryan Gaul.
I am the pumpkin pie of Friendsgiving.
That's right. We're serving up dessert. That's what you are, Ryan.
That is right.
I love it. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So happy to have you. Now, as we listen to this here in the good old US of A, it is Thanksgiving weekend. What are you doing right now?
God, I hope I'm eating a ton of turkey.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite Thanksgiving treat is the old classic Thanksgiving sandwich. Do you know what that is?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Stuffing and some turkey and some cranberry sauce.
That's right.
Plop between 2 slices of bread.
You got to put the mayo on there. And I don't love mayo. You got to put a little mayo on there.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, no, Riley's a vegetarian, so he's not having most of that.
You know what though? I love a post-Thanksgiving carb sandwich. You go bread, you go potatoes, you go stuffing. Maybe a little bit of green beans and salad, and then bread again. Ooh, baby.
Riley, you could do that. You could make it with instead of putting turkey on there, why not put some sweet potato or something?
Ooh, I like this. I like where you're going with this.
Will you commit to trying this and sending us a video?
Yes, please.
Of you trying this sandwich?
Yes.
I will. Yeah, I'll stack up a big old Thanksgiving carb sandwich and just.
I want to see it.
I'll send you a reminder.
Okay. Done deal.
Put those candied yams in between.
Hey, wait a minute.
2 slices.
What are you talking about?
Or were you talking about? Oh, I was thinking of something else.
Wait, what?
Never mind. All right, everyone. As a Friendsgiving dessert, I am doing something special for y'all, and I'm going to present, I think, the very first deep dive high strangeness topic that we've ever done here on the other side.
There we go.
This is a story about one of the most notoriously haunted landmarks of all time, with a very gory and very violent past that's filled with torture, execution, and murder. It is time for a 6 feet deep dive into the Tower of London. Spooky. Now, I ask Riley at the beginning of every deep dive, Riley, what do you know about the Tower of London? And I extend this question to our guest Ryan as well. What do y'all know about Tower of London?
British history is a blind spot. So it's a tower in London, I'm assuming. I'm inferring from the name.
It's not. What if I told you it's not just one, but many towers?
You know what?
Confusing.
A little confusing. It should be called the Towers of London, but we'll let them have it. Assuming they keep spooky sets of armor and treasures there, probably. Yeah,
well, technically, yes. It used to house the crown jewels, but they're no longer kept there.
There we go. Okay.
And there is armor, especially, there's actually a haunted set of armor that we're going to talk about that's on display in the museum there.
Look what you can get from context clues.
Yes. Now, this is
your way through anything.
I didn't learn the lesson from last week. I'm not staying ahead of the audience. I'm giving things away. But Ryan, have you ever been to Tower of London?
I actually was just there.
Shut up!
I was probably, not
guy.
just, but sometime, I believe in early September, I was at the Tower of London and did the full walkthrough.
Oh, hell yes. Let's fucking go, dude.
And by the way, the jewels, the crown jewels, they are there, my friend.
Well, that's
and they're doing a special. They're doing some sort of special thing where they have them there on exhibit.
Yes,
I didn't watch those or see those or
they're. When I was there, they're on exhibit in a very tiny, very claustrophobic room, and I did not like it. But they used to keep them there, all the time. They used to be they're not kept there anymore. But there are some on display there, and they're very pretty. They're quite dazzling, but the room feels very heavy and small, so I didn't like that part.
As do all. I'll tell you this: the entire walkthrough feels haunted. The entire, because you're basically going through a castle. They call it a tower, but it feels like you're on a tour of a castle. And the history there is insane.
Yeah.
The things you're looking at and the historical figures that wore these suits of armor, or, the horse armor. I can't believe I'm saying
the
that.
Horse armor is awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Henry VIII has horse armor, and his and Catherine's initials are woven into the skirt of the armor of the horse, which is pretty wild.
Insane.
Cool.
Well, here we go, everybody. Tower of London is a royal fortress and historical landmark that looms over the River Thames in London. White Tower, the original keep, was constructed in 1078 by William the Conqueror, the first Norman king of England, to help maintain control over the mercantile community along the river. Over the following few centuries, the fortress was expanded and fortified. The White Tower remains the nucleus of the fortress, surrounded by 13 towers with names like the Bloody Tower, the Beauchamp Tower, the Wakefield Tower, and the Lion Tower, which once held the royal menagerie of exotic animals from the 13th century all the way up to 1834.
Wow.
Yeah, they had like an exotic zoo in the same place where they would behead women that the kings wanted to divorce.
Hey, you got to keep it fun, something for the kids while they're waiting for the execution.
You got to keep it fun.
Those poor animals, that must have sucked. Many different types of prisoners at this place.
A lot of towers, though. You did not undersell that. It's
No.
quite a few of them.
Like all good medieval fortresses, there was a moat, which was fed by the Thames, but that was drained in 1843. So they got rid of the zoo and the moat during the 19th century. Over its 946-year-old history, the tower has been a castle, a royal palace, an armory, a prison, a host of garrisons, the storage place for the crown jewels, an execution site, a tourist attraction, and more. It is also one giant haunted house that stretches across 18 blood-soaked acres. Now, while there is simply too much history surrounding Tower of London to squeeze into this single episode, we're going to focus on some very gruesome moments from its dark history and explore some of the ghost stories. I warn our more sensitive listeners that we shall not be shying away from the gore this week, so brace yourselves. Now, before we get into some of the ghosts seen around the tower, let's talk about some of the famous prisoners and the infamous means by which they were tortured and executed. If you were of high nobility, your executions took place on Tower Green within the walls of the tower. If the powers that be wanted to give the people a thrill, and you were not part of the nobility, you would face your doom on Tower Hill, a public space just outside the castle. Some of the more notable people executed in the Tower of London include, in 1388, Simon Burley, advisor to Richard II, who was beheaded by a group of nobles called the Lords Appellant, who waged a civil war to take control of the throne and won. Lords Appellant, pretty great name.
Yeah. Sounds like an 80s metal band.
It does sound like, yeah.
Like very kind of like Bill and Ted's.
But like a yuppie metal band somehow?
Yeah, a little. It's like kind of a little like Huey Lewis metal.
Yes. No, that's great. Yes, it could be like a very drunken British version of a Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's fit to be square. They just do Huey Lewis covers.
Huey covers, yeah. At the pub.
That's the power of love. Okay, so then in 1510, we have Edmund Dudley. A lot of people with the last name Dudley in the story, by the way.
Okay.
Edmund Dudley was a statesman who was imprisoned and beheaded by Henry VIII for fraudulent and treasonous acts which took place during Henry VII's reign, his father, that were never really proven to have taken place. But the public hated Dudley so much that Henry VIII wanted to win favor with the people, so off with his head.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. You'll see a trend in here, Ryan, if you've ever watched. First of all, a lot of people are getting their heads cut off. Second, all of this stuff sounds like a plot twist that would happen in the 7th episode of a series of Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon.
Right.
Like,
yes.
George R.R. Martin was inspired by all of this stuff. It's very, very clear.
It's wild.
1535, Sir Thomas More, humanist and statesman, was beheaded for not recognizing King Henry VIII as the head of the Church of England. He was later canonized by the Catholic Church as a saint. I think that story is also told in the play The Man for All Seasons. Have you ever done that? Did you have to read that or do that in high school?
I did not.
In 15...
My mind just drifted, though, of like that he was beheaded for not recognizing him like at a party.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no. I know who you are.
Yeah, off with his head.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you as the head of the Church of England.
Yeah.
You gained some weight. 1536, Anne Boleyn, the second wife of Henry VIII, who was imprisoned by her husband after he accused her of infidelity and incest with her own brother. Henry was looking for a way to get out of the marriage because she did not give birth to a son, and because he'd already lost interest and was courting his next wife, Jane Seymour.
All sounds fair. Sounds fair.
I mean, Jane Seymour, Dr. Quinn medicine woman, why would you...
Come on.
It's gorgeous. Anne Boleyn was put on trial, found unanimously guilty, and beheaded on May 19th. Henry remarried on May 30th.
Oh, man. It's nice he waited, 11 days.
Yeah.
So,
Rebound.
Just under 2 weeks.
Rebound wife. See how long that head lasts.
Yeah, we'll see.
1554, Lady Jane Grey, a 16-year-old granddaughter of King Henry VII, who sat on the throne for 9 days when she was only 15, was beheaded by Mary I, a.k.a. longtime enemy of this podcast. I don't even want to say it.
Don't say it. We know who.
Bloody Mary. To appease, she did this to appease Philip of Spain and solidify her hand in marriage with Philip, because he was like, this lady Jane Grey, she might have some claim to the throne. If we get married, and I don't want anyone contesting our position of power, so could you do me a little itty bitty favor before I marry you and just kill that girl?
Just kill this teenage girl.
Yeah, and Mary I said, okay, fine.
That is fucked up.
Yeah. Jane's husband, Lord Guilford Dudley, was also executed. Just for good measure, just kill the husband as well.
Yeah, you might as well.
Married to him, he could try to claim the throne after his wife was murdered, so they killed him too.
Yeah, the crowd's here. You set up the chopping block.
Now would have been executed on the Tower Green, so they were not executed publicly, as far as I know, because they were nobility. So they were done within the walls.
VIP section.
Yeah,
it's a secret.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's the Patreon.
Yeah, that's out of respect. I mean, basically, they were like, out of respect, we will just behead you. We won't behead you while people throw their own feces at you.
Yeah,
that's nice.
That's fair.
Yeah, a perk. Yeah.
Among other notable prisoners were Queen Elizabeth I, who obviously survived her imprisonment there, Guy Fawkes, who was tortured at the Tower but hanged and quartered at Westminster in 1606. Guy Fawkes, of course, was the gunpowder plot.
Tried to blow up Parliament.
Yeah, tried to blow up Parliament.
Yeah.
And V for Vendetta mask, anonymous mask. That's Guy Fawkes.
Yep.
And Sir Walter Raleigh, who was imprisoned twice, the second time for 13 years, and then beheaded in 1618 at Whitechapel, future stomping grounds of Jack the Ripper. So basically, if you made political enemies or a new person came into power, acquired the throne, and you were allegiant to the old people, you might get your head cut off.
Wow.
Or at least tortured.
I didn't know Walter Raleigh got his head cut off. He was like an explorer, right?
Yeah, exactly. But he was like the explorer for the previous throne. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna have to kill that guy.
Yeah, and so they're like, you gotta go. 1618. So he would have been. He would have been for. I think he was under Queen Elizabeth I, and then when King James took over, I think he murdered, but I need to check my history on that one.
I don't know. Yeah,
do me a quick googs on that, would you, Riley?
These head chops, they're not guillotine, right? That's French.
That's the French. You're getting an axe man.
You're just having a guy with an axe, and you put your head down, and he goes, "Good night."
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
If you're lucky, as we will soon discover.
Oh boy.
Let's get into some torture techniques, shall we? Now, one of the more popular torture techniques that were considered to be a lighter form of torture were the manacles. And this is in the 16th and 17th centuries. The manacles were a technique where the prisoner or victim is strung up by the arms using iron chains and suspended.
Ouchie.
In 1590, Jean Girard, a Jesuit priest held captive at the tower, wrote about his painful experience being strung up in the manacles.
Then they put my wrists into iron gauntlets and ordered me to climb 2 or 3 wicker steps. My arms were then lifted up, and an iron bar was passed through the rings of one gauntlet, then through the staple in the rings of the second gauntlet. This done, they fastened the bar with a pin to prevent it slipping, and then, removing the wicker steps, they left me hanging by my hands and my arms fastened above my head.
I mean, this poor man does sound like he's been through a lot.
That's rough. Yeah.
That is rough, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, think of just hanging there for hours and hours and hours.
Just a few minutes.
The blood,
It's
yeah.
bad.
Oh, a few minutes. The blood rushing away from your hands, the manacles cutting into your wrists, your ligaments getting, your sockets and your joints getting basically like ripped out, you know, by hanging there for so long. It's bad.
I don't want that.
The rack. What you really don't
I
want.
don't want that. I don't want
What you
that.
really don't want is the rack. The rack is a gnarly torture device where a person is trapped on a board, limbs tied at each end, and then stretched out through the use of a crank or wheel until their joints rip open and their ligaments are torn.
Oh.
One well-known victim of the rack was Anne Askew, who was arrested for being an early practitioner and Protestant preacher. She was one of the only 2 known women to be tortured at the Tower of London. However, I'm sure there were many more. And after her body was destroyed on the rack, she was carried to her execution because she could not move. She couldn't use her limbs anymore, and was burned at the stake at Smithfield in 1546.
Jesus.
So they just carried her limp body down to a stake, tied her up, and set her on fire.
I mean, and I complain about like the price of Netflix.
Yeah.
I can't believe like this happened to people.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is real.
Yeah.
Real,
Oh my
and it
God.
happened all the time.
Yeah. It's just like the human ingenuity for cruelty is wild. They're like the fact that we're like coming up with these devices, and it's just
Such a nightmare.
Well, it's so crazy too.
truly-
Like Marble Arch in London, which is like, oh, everybody loves Marble Arch. Marble Arch. They used to hang people there. It used to be a public execution site, and that was people's entertainment. They would come out and watch
Yes.
people die. And there was the term pulling your leg, forgive me if you know this, but maybe some of our listeners don't, comes from when you were being hung. Before you were executed, you would arrange for a friend or family member to run over and yank on your leg so it would snap your neck and kill you faster.
To help you.
To help kill you.
You could have somebody assist
Yeah.
to take the pain away.
Yeah, if you had like a couple extra coin, or like if you had a friend who's like, I'm not going to leave you hanging up there too long, buddy. I'll break through the crowd and I'll literally pull your leg to help kill you faster.
Who would you
Whoa.
ask to help you?
Riley, he's tall and he's
Yeah.
strong.
Riley does look like
buddy,
a strong man.
buddy, I'd snap your neck like a twig. Don't
Thanks,
you worry.
baby.
I got you. I got you.
You gotta go for Riley. I'd be like, wait, you're so tall. Let me just ride your shoulders and help me untie this knot.
We solved it.
Or you run off with me and then my neck
Yeah, and
snaps.
then,
yeah, on your my legs
God.
around your shoulders. What about you, Ryan? Who would you have pull your leg?
I don't know who I would ask. I guess I have a few friends, but I think I'd go in the same. I have a friend, Peter, from Maine, who's like a big dude. And I'm like, if you're going to ask somebody to do it, they have one job and you don't want them to mess up.
Do you see my
wrists?
wrist?
Like, sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you see how limp and thin these wrists are? I can't I can't help anybody.
I'm going with like Eric Edelstein. I think.
Oh,
he
yeah.
can
Another
handle-
good choice. Eric, if you're
he can
listening,
handle it.
please pull
Buddy,
our legs.
if I'm ever being hung in old timey England, I need
You're like,
you there.
oh, buddy, I got you. Don't worry, pal.
Friend, I'll be there.
Friend, I love you, friend.
And you know what?
I'll even say a Hail Mary while I do it.
I know that he would too. I trust it. He would show up in that time machine for my
Yes, he would.
English execution.
That's wild, though. That's good. That's
Yeah.
I did not know that about pulling a leg.
Yeah.
Is that
did I.
connected to being drawn and quartered?
Drawn and quartered is literally they cut you, I believe, might need to Google and check me on this, Riley, but I believe that they cut you from like neck to nuts and then across your
Neck to nuts.
torso. And then they pull open, sorry everybody, they pull open the skin flaps
Yes.
and basically tie them open and leave you tied
That's
tied
right.
up that way while
And-
you die.
You're missing one little fun part of being drawn and quartered is where they feed you your own penis.
That's right. They
That's
stuff
true.
your
Yes.
own penis
They
in your
choke
mouth.
you.
Seeing
They
that
choke
now.
you.
Yeah.
They want you to stay alive, so you will
What
be
is
choked with your own
wrong with us?
Yeah.
I mean,
I get the drawn part of that too is that you're dragged by a horse
that's okay.
Yes.
Drawn by a horse.
They-
to your
they
place
pull
of
you-
execution,
They
then
pull you in
quartered.
4 different
Yeah.
directions, right?
They-
Oh, God.
Yeah, they got that one too. And yes, it does say
Yeah.
that they refer to it as emasculating, but it is the cutting off of
That's
the penis and
trust
putting
me,
in the mouth.
The emasculation is the least of my
not
problems
really
if I'm
the-
being drawn and quartered.
Also, to be like, and now, please, the emasculation shall begin. It's like, don't call it that. You're going to shove my own penis in my mouth and choke me with it. Let's call it what it is.
The other one that sucks is being tarred and feathered, and I don't know when that started, but
That's Boston, right?
dude, pouring hot tar all
Oh,
over your
that's-
body
that's
and then
not fun
dunking
at
you
all.
with feathers.
Yeah.
I don't think they
It's-
did that in England though, but I could be wrong. I probably am.
Originated in medieval Europe.
Well, there you go.
Common form
Oh.
of vigilante justice.
There you go. God, that would suck, dude.
You better behave. If you're growing up in these time periods, you better be
Yeah.
in church all day long.
If you're not
Yeah.
being emasculated, some old lady's telling you that every time you take the Lord's name in vain, he's screaming to being burned with fire.
that was
the-
my version of being
like
emasculated.
like the anxiety level alone of everyone in this time period. I mean, we think we have
Yeah.
it bad.
No.
It was
No.
come on.
Can you
Things are
imagine?
better. At least I mean we arguably better. Empirically better.
Yeah.
But still not where we want them.
Haven't hit
Not
the
great,
target yet.
but not bad.
Yeah,
But,
not
you know,
still missing where we're trying to go. Having a few setbacks. However, we haven't even talked about the Scavengers Daughter.
oh boy,
Oh,
that
I
sounds
knew this was
bad
coming.
already.
There was another, you heard the one about the Scavenger's Daughter. This is another horrific instrument, which is the opposite of the rack. Instead of being stretched from end to end, it compresses its victims in a kneeling position until you are crushed and your lungs fill up with blood and you die.
What a
Oh,
fun, what a
that's
fun
sweet.
deep dive you've chosen
It's
for
like-
us this week.
They make you a human gusher.
You're like a jelly donut that gets stomped on.
Yeah, slow, but with a slow press.
Yeah, just a real.
Hey everyone, how are those Thanksgiving sandwiches tasting right now? I told you this was gonna get gory, okay?
You did, in all fairness, you gave a very polite
Clear.
warning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And finally, there's another really, I don't know what this is called necessarily, but another method of disposing of pesky noblemen is ramming a red hot poker up their ass and melting their insides.
Oh, that Ramsey Pokesies, of course.
The Red
By the way-
Ramsey. The Red Ramsey.
All you have to do is be pesky to get
Yeah,
that.
that'll do
Yeah.
it.
Piss off the wrong person, and you get red Ramsey'd. It's not good.
Daryl was being pesky today.
Well, put that iron in the fire.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Man.
Now I immediately go to
Would you rather?
Which would I rather?
Yeah. Well, would you
Do
rather?
I want a hot poker up the rear to bake my insides, basically? I got to imagine that is going to take longer
Yeah, it seems like you'd live a long
than
time.
the other one. I think I'd rather be drawn and quartered and eat my own penis.
Yeah, I think so
If
too.
only for the cherry on the top at the
And
end.
by the way, I might take that anyway.
I mean, at least it's ending with a little self-gratification.
I mean, come on.
I'd be dying the way I lived.
That's crazy, though. I can't imagine the poor people that suffered through this stuff for being pesky. A pesky nobleman.
Well, I'm
probably
being I'm just stretched there,
Yeah,
but
it's pesky.
But you
That'll do
got
it.
to imagine, like, somebody said the wrong thing to a prince.
Totally.
And they were like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Get the poker, but get the hot poker, please.
now
You know,
bend
just
over.
like,
And
this is what you get.
Everyone's wasted. It's
Yeah.
just everyone
Everyone's
is
drunk
just
all day
drunk and mean, and
Yeah.
it's just
Because you can't drink water
Yes.
because the
Yeah.
bacteria in the water will kill you.
Yes.
Mhm.
So you're drinking wine and beer.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
And do you know what they
everything all
ate?
day.
Do you know what they ate? This I learned while I was doing a tour at the Tower of London.
Oh.
Is that they would the richest of the rich would eat pork, and then the next level down would eat the shit of the pigs,
Oh,
and the next level down would eat the shit.
Wait, so
No.
level 2 is eating shit?
Yeah,
Is that
So-
why they call it number 2?
And then there would maybe.
Finding
But
all
then
these
there would be
origins.
pigs that eat the pig shit. So you would keep going down levels until basically you're just eating a pig made of shit. But that's all there was to eat.
So there was pork or there was shit? That's all there was?
I love that band.
That can't be true. We
no,
have
you
to
look
double
it
check.
up. Look it up. They would literally eat shit.
God damn, dude.
let me tell you about the specials then.
That can't be right.
We got some pork. We ran out of that. Oh, just
I
shit.
So we have pork, and we have shit, and then we have shit, and we also have shitty shit. But bad news is we're out of pork.
Were there chickens? There had to be chickens.
No, not for I'm talking about the peasants, like the poorest of the poor.
Oh, I thought you were like the rich people have pork, and then anyone who's
Well,
not
no,
like
the
part
ri-
of the
the ri-
1% just eats shit.
Well, I mean, that's
I was like,
constant
surely.
I mean, it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
current. Yeah.
Well, pretty good.
I don't know. You can check me on
Hey,
that.
you know what? It's a
there's
fact
something
now.
to do with people eating shit.
How's that Thanksgiving sandwich tasting, everybody? Hey, man, you could
Hey,
be
we
eating
don't have-
shit.
Yeah. Seems like
We
you're
don't
doing
have
pretty
mayonnaise.
well.
Yeah, put some mayo on it. Let's get into some bizarre executions that took place.
Let's.
Many prisoners were sent out. I mean, we're kind of already there. Were sent out of the tower for execution because executions that took place at the Tower of London were people of high rank, like the 3 queens who were beheaded at Tower Green: Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, and Henry's 5th wife. Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, who was Henry's 5th wife, and Lady Jane Grey. Anne Boleyn had a special executioner brought in from France who took off Anne's head with one stroke of the axe. On the day of her execution, Anne reportedly told someone, "I heard say the executioner was very good, and I have a little neck." Just being
Finding
like, you're
the
worrying if they're going to
positive,
miss.
You know?
I heard say.
Margaret Paul, a.k.a. Margaret Plantagenet, who was a countess who was arrested for treason at age 65 and held in the tower for 2 years. On May 27th, 1541, she was beheaded at Tower Green, and her end was not nearly as clean as that of Anne Boleyn. The executioner botched the job, and it took 11 swings as he whacked away at her neck and shoulders before he got the job done.
Boy.
Now, a second account from an eyewitness who was present that day said that after the first botched swing, Margaret, the 65-year-old lady, got up and tried to run away as the executioner gave chase, chipping away at her. Both accounts agree that it took 11 swings, maybe not the right word choice.
Perfect word choice.
Took 11 swings before she was finally beheaded.
Wow.
11 swings. This guy...
Terrible.
This guy was either drunk...
Absolutely drunk.
He was like, I'll give it my best.
I'm gonna go out there and
Oh,
give him
shit.
this.
I used the wrong X.
They think they're going to find someone in from France. I'll fucking show them.
Somebody said to try to do it with a spoon. I was trying to do it with a spoon.
Yeah. On February 18th, George Plantagenet, Duke of Clarence, was executed at the Tower after being found guilty for treason against his brother, Edward VI. Clarence was privately executed in the Bowyer Tower. The story goes that he was granted his choice of execution method and was drowned in a bath of Momsy wine.
Cool move. That's
Cool
a cool move.
That's the way to go. That's what I'm thinking.
Cool way to go.
Wait, what is Momsy wine?
It's a type of wine.
Just a kind of wine? Yeah, I don't know that word.
Let's look up Momsy wine.
Momsy wine sounds like a very weird type of... I don't believe that really.
Okay, let me tell you what it is. Malvasia, it's a type of wine grape. So what type of wine is Momsy? Is a kind of fortified wine made from wine. It's a fortified wine. Actually, a fortified wine is what I ate after I was drawn and quartered.
Drawn and quartered.
Momsy wine. I'll take a half carafe of Momsy wine.
Put a little bit of pig shit on the side of that for me too, if you would. Is there any pig shit left? Oh, just the shit? I'll take that. It's fortified wine made from the Malvasia family of grape varietals under Portugal's Madeira DOC. I don't know. It's a sweet, rich form of wine.
Flavor
yeah,
or something.
it's just a type of,
Momsy.
I love this Momsy.
I picture it tasting like port, like a little sweeter.
A little sweet.
So I'm sure they like filled up a bucket and then they drowned him. But they also say there's also accounts that he was maybe just stabbed to death.
There's some great drawings of this happening on the old Googs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Googs.
That is not period accurate, this phone ringing.
No, that was me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Do you know
have
what's
to take
been going
this?
on?
Uh-huh.
No, I don't. What if I was like, can you guys give me 20 minutes?
Then you
No,
walked
hold.
away.
And then just leave a gap of silence of 20 minutes of the episode.
You know what? Some update happened on my phone, and I don't want to disrupt what's going on in what we're talking about, but I cannot silence my phone.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know how to
annoying.
do it. I know.
right.
I need to talk to a tech person.
You're like that executioner who was trying to turn off Margaret Paul. You couldn't silence.
Yeah.
Can't silence.
I don't have
it.
time for this.
It's going to
I
take
need a
11
sip of-
tries.
Just keep chipping away at it.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Excuse me. I'll just have a sip of Momsy wine and I'll be fine.
On July 17th, 1674, I want to talk about, by the way, I forgot to tell you, we're talking about the princes in the tower now.
Okay.
On July 17th, 1674, during a renovation of the Tudor and medieval palace just south of the White Tower, 2 skeletons belonging to children were discovered in a wooden chest buried beneath a staircase.
Oh.
Discovered during the reign of Charles II, the skeletons were believed to be the remains of the princes in the tower, 12-year-old Edward V and his younger brother, 9-year-old Richard, Duke of York, who disappeared during the famous War of the Roses, the OG House of Dragons, 200 years earlier in 1483. The Vanishing Princes is one of England's most enduring royal mysteries, and although these remains were officially declared to be the bodies of the princes, we can never know for certain who they truly were. Now, dear Club Scouts, we come to the main course of the dessert of the month, the ghost stories.
Oh, yeah.
What follows is a macabre parade of souls who once inhabited the tower or met their untimely ends within its grounds. So a lot of those folks that we met earlier, get ready to see them again. One well-known figure is the ghost of Henry VI, who was imprisoned in Wakefield Tower by his cousin Edward IV during the War of the Roses. The story goes that he was murdered by praying in the king's private chapel on May 21st, 1471, but it might be that he was killed in his sleep. The ghost of Henry VI, who was known for blacking out in prolonged catatonic states, is said, very interesting guy. A lot of people are like, we got to get rid of this one. He is not a good king. And he just, he literally like blacks out for weeks.
You know what? What a great thing to be known for. That's so useful. If just someone is just talking and you don't, well, you just.
He would just zone out.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
blacking out like he's a booze hound?
No, he just would. He had some sort of mental health condition where he would like shut down.
Just like check out.
Wow.
And he was like not a like strong leader by any. So they were like, okay, we just got to kill this guy. He sucks. So we can move on. We can move on to the next person here. The ghost of Henry VI, who was is said to haunt the Wakefield Tower where he was murdered, appearing at the stroke of midnight. Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn is said to haunt the location of her execution near Tower Green. A famous ghost story tells of a guardsman, one of the beefeaters or yeomen, who in 1876 saw a brilliant light coming from the palace chapel. Climbing up a ladder and peering into a window, the guardsman saw a ghostly procession of knights and ladies in ancient dress, following the headless figure of a woman whose clothing matched Anne Boleyn's style of dress. In an earlier story from 1864, a guardsman encountered a ghostly female form, solid white, near the lieutenant's lodgings. When he poked the figure with his bayonet, it passed through the woman. The encounter was corroborated by another officer who claimed to have watched it all happen from his bedroom window in the nearby Bloody Tower. So we got 2 eyewitnesses to this ghost.
I like poking a ghost with a bayonet.
Yeah, if you got a bayonet, what's it for? They're not using it that much.
Right through the mist.
Ghost poker.
Yeah.
So he was ready to kill. He was ready to kill her.
Yeah.
He was
if
like,
it's a lady, he's stabbing.
You're gonna stab her. You're ready to kill her.
He was like, "Hawk, who goes there? Stop! In the name of the king!" And it just went right through her. Lady Jane Grey, the 16-year-old who was killed. The ghost of Lady Grey is said to roam the Tower Field on Tower Hill around the outer walls and battlements of the fortress. And when I took the tour there, they would say that they'd see her roaming down around the base of the walls, like, oh, and then like disappearing.
Somebody shut up that ghost then.
Yeah. Now you remember those 2 princes, the little skeletons that they found in the chest under the stairs?
Yeah.
Yes.
The spectral forms of 2 little boys, presumably the skeletons found under the stairs, purportedly belonging to Edward V and his brother Richard, are frequently seen in the White Tower, running about in nightshirts, holding hands. They're just like the twins out of The Shining. They've They've also been seen playing along the battlements, and some visitors have sworn that they could hear the sound of children giggling.
Nothing scarier than disembodied child ghost giggling. It's really one of the most frightening sounds.
Terrible. It's either like in the right context, it's one of the loveliest sounds.
Disembodied.
Yes, I was going to say
child ghost. Yes.
Any other context,
not good.
The sound of children's laughter is absolutely terrifying.
Not great. Not great.
Kind of imagine if it's just like a child giggled behind you right now.
Oh,
Ugh.
I don't want it.
Margaret Paul. Now,
putting that with the hot pokey. I don't want it.
yeah, I don't want it.
I don't want it.
They could be holding one. Margaret Paul, a.k.a. Margaret Plantagenet, the woman that took 11 swings to decapitate. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen the ghost of Margaret Poole reenacting her horrendous beheading, and the disembodied sounds of her screams are sometimes heard ringing through the tower grounds. So imagine you're on vacation. You are tired of your husband who is complaining about his feet, and you decide, you sit here, I'm going to go walk around with my brochure, and you look up and you see a headless ghost, like a ghost that's like halfway being headless, running and screaming through the grounds.
I'd say successful tour, you know?
That's a Ghostbusters ghost, too. That's a very Ghostbusters-y ghost.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
Because it is,
God.
I mean, as horrible it is, as ghost gigs go,
Great visual bit. Yeah.
it's a good gag.
You got a lot to work with there as a ghost.
It's a good gag, yeah.
Yeah.
You're making the final cut. They're not going to cut
Yeah.
that scene from the movie. Like
No,
that,
yeah.
they're like, oh yeah, that ghost
You gotta
is going to be there.
You gotta keep hold.
Sir Walter Raleigh also has a ghost in 1982, so pretty recent. I mean, if you're in your 40s,
We could call that recent.
we'll call it recent compared to most of this shit.
Yeah.
In 1982, on a cold winter's night, when the tower was covered in freshly fallen snow, a beefeater was taking a rest in Byward Tower. It was around 2 a.m. when he witnessed the door handle jiggling. Blaming the wind, the ward ignored it. But a few minutes later, the handle rattled more loudly, and the guard looked up, and through the window of the door he saw the face of Sir Walter Raleigh, looking just like his famous painted portrait staring back at him. The spirit was a full corporeal form, solid-looking and appearing in full color. The vision faded after a few moments, but months later, another guard saw the same image at the same door. I love that it just looks like it's there. You know, he's there. And to be able to recognize him from his portrait is pretty spooky, too.
That's really creepy.
What's this guy doing taking a rest in the tower, though, while he's
Yeah,
a guard?
you're supposed to be on the job.
Come on.
This
Poking
sorta
your
sounds like-
bayonet at things that move that you
Yeah.
don't understand.
Sort of sounds
He's-
like maybe someone
He's
was...
sneaking a heater up in the.
That's what I'm saying. And then he saw old Walter Raleigh, you know? It's like, okay.
No. If I had to be here for 13 years, you can't take a little break. Let me see. Where was I? Ah, yes. The White Woman. The White Woman is an unidentified spirit who will appear in the corner of your eye and then vanish when you turn to get a better look. Visitors describe temperature drops, shoulder tapping, and the smell of stinky perfume while she is present. The White Lady is a type of ghost that all to itself. Stories of ghostly women in white are described around the world. And as we learned reading Joshua Cutchin and Tim Renner's book, Where the Footprints End, white ladies are sometimes associated with Bigfoot activity in the woods. Did you ever know about that, Ryan Gaul?
No, I did. I absolutely would not expect that piece of information, and I'd follow it up with a why.
Yeah, well, we don't know, but often where there's Bigfoot activity seen, there's also stories of people seeing women in white walking along the road at night and vanishing, or ghostly women in white walking through the woods.
How bizarre! And has anybody come up with a theory to say like, well, here's maybe a possibility of why that happened?
I don't think so. It's one of those things where like it happens, and if you look at it, it's one of those pieces of high strangeness that
It's just a bizarre piece of information.
it's a bizarre piece of information. Formless and abstract spirits are in the tower as well. There are a few spirits roaming around that aren't as fully actualized as Sir Walter Raleigh, and one of them is the ghost of a faceless woman who was seen in 1957 by a guardsman on duty at the Salt Tower. There are also stories of a disembodied monk whose sandals can be heard slapping across the stony paths and steps of the fortress grounds. And then there's the nameless thing, an overbearing presence described by beefeaters that follows them along their beat from Sally's portal on the Thames around the castle grounds. So just an overbearing, spooky, heavy presence that follows them.
Bad vibes presence.
Bad
Sorry if I missed
vi-
this, but when you say beefeaters, you're talking about the high-hatted...
Yeah, not the high-hatted.
Security. The military...
Yeah, they're the Yeoman. What are they called? There's a longer name
That's
for
one
them.
of those defining
a Yeoman
word with a word
warder.
I also don't know.
Okay.
So Yeoman warders or beefeaters, those are. So have you ever seen a bottle of beefeaters gin?
That's my reference.
That's
point,
what they are. They're not the guys who stand outside Buckingham Palace and don't move.
That's the palace guard.
And don't talk. Those are palace guards, I believe. These guys, they'll hang out. They'll tell you stories. In fact, when I was there as a kid, we talked to a very friendly beefeater who told us a story about a ghost in his and his wife's apartment that was there. They lived at the tower. And I was like, is it haunted? And they thought that Lady Jane Grey haunted their... they'd seen a woman multiple times that they thought was Lady Jane Grey in their apartment.
That's pretty cool. And by the way, they all live at the tower.
I believe
right?
so. Yeah, I think the
Yeah,
guards.
I think it's like a rule that
They have their,
guard
bunks there.
Their whole family lives there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's pretty wild.
I just looked this up because I was wondering about the name, and it is because they were given an extra large daily ration of beef.
There you go.
So they are the beef eaters.
They weren't eating shit.
They didn't have to eat the shit.
They have beef, y'all.
Depends what you call shit. I call shit beef.
Edmund Lentil Swift was the keeper of the crown jewels between 1814 and 1852. He lived inside the Tower of London with his family. So he and his family were in the Jewel House, which is now called Martin Tower, one Saturday night in October, just about the witching hour, when something very strange manifested in the candlelit room. Swift wrote about this experience in his journal.
My wife looked up and exclaimed, "Good God, what is that?" I looked up and I saw a cylindrical figure, like a glass tube, seemingly about the thickness of my arm. It was hovering between the ceiling and the table. Its contents appeared to be a dense fluid, white and pale azure, like the gathering of a summer cloud and incessantly rolling and mingling within the cylinder. This lasted about 2 minutes, and then it began slowly to move before my sister-in-law, then, following the oblong shape of the table, before my son and myself, passing behind my wife. It paused for a moment over her right shoulder. Instantly she crouched down, and with both hands covering her shoulder, she shrieked out, "Oh, Christ! It has seized me!" Even now, while writing, I feel the fresh horror of that moment.
Okay, this story fascinates me. Great job.
It's
there,
crazy.
Ryan. This
crazy.
is like a UFO showing up in the middle. This is what John Tenney might call a formonaut. This is a geometrical shape filled with clouds, rolling clouds, moving slowly through the room. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's wild. I don't like, especially because what year are we looking at?
This is in
this?
18. This is between 1814 and 1852. So this is one of the guys that we were just talking about, living there with their family, and suddenly there's this like glowing tube filled with rolling little clouds that it's like an orb. It's like an orb, but a cylinder. This is
or like
really weird,
like a tic-tac.
like a tic tac UFO. But slowly hovering through the room. This is true high strangeness. This, because you think, well, if I were going to make up a story I would make it sound like the Anne Boleyn or the white lady walking through the room. I wouldn't come up with like a glowing cylinder filled with like blue and white smoke.
Exactly. That's what's so bizarre about it to me is like, this isn't somebody being like, oh, I saw a ghost and it looked like a colonial, soldier.
Yeah.
This is somebody that seems to be describing something way out of the norm for their time period.
Yep. It's really weird.
It sounds like a perfect description of a lava lamp.
Yeah,
Honestly.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, maybe someone in the future is like carrying a lava lamp through the room, like in the 60s, and it's like showing up somehow, time
What
warp.
sorcery is this?
Very weird stuff.
What the hell? What the hell could that be? That, and by the way, again, this is a group of people who witnesses, his wife, his son, and himself,
Sister-in-law.
And that the weirdness of him describing it, like she crouched down.
It's very specific.
And shrieking
Clutch
out,
your shoulder, oh Christ, it sees
Christ,
me.
it sees me.
And then
What a
Jesus
bizarre
burned.
thing.
Jesus burned and screamed
And
while
then-
she said that.
So you had to bring him
Jesus
into
burned.
it.
Yeah.
And Jesus burned.
So around the same time as that incident, the ghost of a grizzly bear was reportedly seen slipping out from under a heavy wooden door and moving towards one of the sentries. But it vanished as the beefeater tried driving his bayonet once again, driving that bayonet through the
Poking
form.
ghosts.
So it's like steam, like smoke coming out from under the door, and then it turns into a giant bear. Boing,
Ghost
boing, boing.
bear.
And it vanishes. Presumably, this bear was one of the many exotic animals once housed in the menagerie that was, hanging out to that day.
Yeah.
Now, finally, what castle, teased this earlier, would be complete without a set of haunted armor?
There we go.
Here it comes.
So that is allegedly the case with the armor once worn by Henry VIII in his younger, more strapping years. Rooms where the armor has been on display are said to have been filled with an atmosphere of dread. Guards have claimed that while patrolling in the armor's presence, they have felt the sudden sensation of a demonic force crushing and strangling them. One ghastly tale tells of a guard who fought off a specter that was wearing an invisible cloak, which wrapped around the guard's neck. He felt a cloak or like a curtain wrap around his neck.
Whoa.
And it was invisible, and he had to fight it off. And it's anytime they're around the armor of Henry VIII.
Was his armor used in a lot of battle?
Oh, I'm sure. Yes. I mean, he used to be like, he was like a young hot guy at one point. And he was like, everyone loved him when he was young because he was like the shit. He was like the super hot guy. He was a great warrior. And then it's like the story of like, he was like young Elvis, and then he became fat Elvis later in life.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
My favorite beings that reside in the tower are not ghosts at all, but they are dark figures that make strange sounds and have been known to fly. The ravens. Ooh. The famous ravens of Tower of London reside in the South Lawn, and there are always 6 of them. The names of the current ravens are Jubilee, Harris, Poppy, Georgie, Edgar, and Branwyn. Legend says that the British kingdom would fall were the ravens ever to leave the tower, a prophecy once given to King Charles II, who insisted that the ravens be kept and taken care of, much to the chagrin of his royal astronomer, John Fulmast, who claimed that they were a nuisance while trying to work in the White Tower. So there you have it, dear Club Scouts, the terrifying history of the Tower of London, one of the most haunted places in England, if not the entire world.
That's amazing.
You got excited about the ravens.
I got excited because when I was in the White Tower, it looked like maybe a young group of teenage girls had ice cream sort of sitting outside of the tower, and one of them a raven came up, and I don't know if you've seen a raven up close. They're big.
They're big babies. Big old babies. Yeah,
big babies. And one came down and landed right on this like wooden fence that was on the stair, and the girl turned around with an ice cream cone, and the raven took it out of her hand and flew away.
That is so awesome.
And I just said, good for you, Raven.
Yeah.
Good for you.
You better buy 2 ice cream cones.
Yeah.
Because you got to get one of those to Bronwyn or Poppy
or
Harris. I love those
so
names.
many. But they were
Jubilee.
the ravens were quite impressive. And I would say overall, I love this story and sort of verbal investigation into the Tower of London, because there is a feeling you get when you go there beyond just history. There is a heaviness to that area because so much has happened there. I believe it goes all the way back to the Roman Empire.
Yeah. Well, so 1078 is when the first tower, so that would have been post-Roman Empire. But there was shit there. I mean, the thing about London that's so fascinating in that area, especially right there on the Thames, as long as if there have been people upright walking around, there's been a settlement right there. Yeah. So that city's history traces all the way back to the earliest days of man. It's always been a settlement there. It's always been, it grew into it went from being huts next to a river to now we're selling trade here. It's always basically been a city, which is fascinating to me. So it's a very organic, giant city that the history of where it stands goes back millennia. It's so crazy to me. I love it. Yeah. And I agree. The whole city is just heavy with...
It feels heavy compared to going to anywhere in the United States.
Agree.
Where it's you're talking 200 or 300 years of history some places in the United States.
Western, of Western history, in terms of European settlers there. But
Yes. But When you go somewhere and it's oh no, it's 1,000 years.
Yeah, this has been a city for thousands of years. Yeah, it's so crazy. That tower alone is 946 years old.
It's wild.
Wow.
Wild.
Not many structures, if any, what structures in the U.S. are that old?
Can I tell you?
Other than I guess the cliff dwellings in certain...
Yeah, in New Mexico?
Yeah, indigenous structures, but that's crazy. Nothing that was certainly made by, Europeans hanging out here.
If you go back, and Riley, have you been there to the Tower of London?
I have not, no.
Okay, so when you go back, and Michael, when you go back, and I know you will, this is one piece of advice. Get a Scotch egg.
Oh, I never did that. I was always kind of scared of it.
Get a Scotch egg at the little snack store. There's a little snack store, and the guy will give you a Scotch egg. He'll heat it up for you.
What's a Scotch egg? What does that mean? What is that?
A Scotch egg is a hard-boiled egg wrapped in sausage and then deep fried.
Oh my God!
What? Yeah, it sounds so great.
You might be in trouble having one of those if you're vegetarian.
Okay, this is fun. So here we go. So here's some of the oldest list of buildings in the United States. The list of oldest buildings in the United States, pre-Columbian era, Columbian era. Excuse me. The ancestral Puebloan dwellings in New Mexico. They were probably built around 750 or 750 AD.
And they're still inhabited. Oldest continuously inhabited human settlement on Earth.
That's pretty impressive.
Chaco Canyon was built sometime around the 800s. Taos Pueblo in Taos was built between 1000 and 1450. So now we're catching up. Now we're around the Tower of London.
I stayed in a building in Taos once that was built in the 1400s.
Wow.
And it's adobe. It was very cool. It was a monastery that got turned into a theater and was owned by God, what's his name? Easy Rider. After he
Dennis
left
Hopper.
Hollywood. Yeah, it was owned by Dennis Hopper. It was
Wow.
his private theater for a while. It was like,
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's old building. I had the weirdest dreams, and my friend that let me stay there, he was like, "Oh, by the way, this is like 100% haunted."
Whoa.
He's like, "Just you're gonna have a weird night," and I fully did have a super weird night. So yeah,
Yeah, these are all obviously indigenous structures, but there's definitely a handful of them. Really cool. But then the first like buildings built by European. Let's see. Well, there's also like the La Casa Blanca, like there's old missions and stuff that are built. It's pretty interesting, man. This is wild. So we're talking like 1521, 1532, 1533. So there's a big 500-year difference between the oldest indigenous buildings and then when people started to colonize.
And you don't have that history of people being just slaughtered.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, that's wrong.
in the Tower of London,
There's a ton of people who
pretty
are
much
slaughtered
just
in the United States.
they might not tell you.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the United States. I was like, I thought you meant the U.S. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Well, no one was. If you go back to 1200s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. Tower of London, all of it. You know what? Reality is a nightmare, everybody. And we're just living in it.
Humans are monsters.
That was a good one. That was a good one, Michael.
Well, thank you very much. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Ryan Gaul, thank you so much for closing out and spending 2 episodes of Friendsgiving with us over here on the other side. Please let everybody know where they can find you and all the things.
Yeah.
Follow McGillicuddy Avenue on
McGillicuddy Avenue. McCurdy Point. MCCURDY.
On Instagram.
POINT. Yeah. On Instagram. And if we're anywhere near you, please come out and see a screening if we're at one of these festivals. And the best way to know to do that is to follow us. Then we'll let you know when we're in your part of the woods. But thank you guys so much. Honestly, it's so good to see your faces and talk about this stuff. I don't get to do it often enough. So thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Likewise,
Thanks
bud,
for being here. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon right over here on the other side. We love you. Where there's love, there's kisses.
Thank you, Patreon.